Hello? Who's there?
Lumos.
How are you?
Imperio. You will listen to Podcrashed.
I will listen to Podcrashed.
You will tell everyone you know to listen to Podcrashed, even though it's a bit of a train wreck.
I will tell everyone to listen to Podcrashed, even though it sucks.
God damn it. Screw it. Go away. Obliviate. Filthy muggles. Shut up, and sit down.
Hi.
Hi.
Usually April, we'll start recording and we'll be chit-chatting, and then, 5 minutes and we'll be like, are we going to start? And she'll be like, we've started all along. Welcome to another episode, and our guest is somebody new.
Yay!
Oh my god, someone who's not been here before.
Yeah.
That's hasn't happened in a while.
Oh, new person.
We're kind of like a TBS or something where we just recycle the classics over and over again.
Yes.
Welcome, Annie.
Oh, hello.
The sun will come. Did you get that a lot as a kid?
And, yeah.
Tomorrow.
And, Annie got your gun.
Yeah.
And
Annie, are you okay?
Annie,
are you okay, Annie?
Yeah.
I get that. I used to get that as a
all
kid.
the time. Yeah.
My sister used to she used to hit me in the shoulder and she goes, look, you've been struck by a smooth criminal.
Oh, that's clever. See, most
Yep.
people just stop and they just are you okay? And then they just stop at that. I'm like, you can keep going.
Yeah,
shit.
sing a song.
Commit to it, dude. Yeah.
I got a request. Are we doing other Michael Jackson songs? Or is it just that one? So Annie, you work with me at Epic Escapes.
I do.
And you're from around these parts, right?
I'm from Hanover.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Did you go to
basically
school with Sheridan? Because she's from Hanover.
I did.
So
Yeah.
that's how you know each other?
Yeah. And then she dated my brother.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was kind of awkward.
Right.
Yeah. That bitch. Yeah.
Your brother, if anyone is familiar with the 90s room at Epic, is Dylan?
Dylan.
Is that the character's name in the... Well, that's his name, right?
Yeah, that's his real name.
But that was his character's name as well. Well, I don't know if he's given a name.
I don't think he's given a name. I think he's just
Boy
Stacy.
Stacy.
He's just Boy
Boy Stacy.
Yeah.
Yes. So we wanted to have you on for numerous reasons, but because you're a huge Harry Potter fan.
I am.
And
It's my life.
we have talked about Harry Potter several times on this podcast.
Oh.
If you didn't know better, you'd think it was a Harry Potter specific podcast.
It should be.
Oh, I'm sure they're out there.
There has to be.
Oh, yeah.
There has to be.
There's one podcast entirely dedicated to reading the Harry Potter books as if they were the Bible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I can get down with it. Harry Potter is my Bible.
Yeah.
actually,
She's like, I've never been very
so-
religious, but I could get on board
I
with
can
this
get on
one.
board. Yeah, sure.
How do you think religions start?
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Wizards.
So but we thought we'd touch on maybe some topics about it that we haven't really talked about too much before. I would like to start off by just asking you, Annie, what your history with Harry Potter is. Like, did you read it when they were coming out? Were you that kid that stood in line in the midnight releases for the last couple books? Like, what's your history going back?
Okay. So I do remember when the first book came out, I was about 9, but I didn't really start reading them until I was about 11 or 12. I think it was about roughly when the third book came out, and then I just became hooked. I was obsessed. And especially when the fourth book came out, Goblet of Fire, and I would just recycle through the books. As soon as I would finish the fourth one, I would go on back to the first one.
Yeah.
So I've literally just read them
Over and over?
Over and over. I would go usually to Barnes & Noble's the day they were released.
Yeah.
And I would buy them. And then
Nice.
I think the only time I did a midnight release was for the 7th book. And I went to Myers in Coldwater because it was the closest to where I lived.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. I stood in line for like over an hour and a half. And then I got the book at midnight and I stayed up like until 6 in the morning at least, just reading it.
Yeah.
Just crying.
Oh, yeah.
Crying.
It's all
'cause,
over.
It was like, I grew up with it,
Yeah.
which is really what was so magical about it is, you were growing up with the character as the books were released. And so I think that's why it had like such a big impact on people because they saw Harry growing up alongside them. So
Yeah.
Even the movies too, yeah.
And
if
the
you were the right
movies.
age, the kids were growing up the same time.
Yeah,
you
because
were.
they're
exactly.
roughly our age, right? I mean,
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if they were supposed to be. Yeah, because I remember. I think the first one came out when I was 10. I think.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and they were supposed to be 11 or so in the first
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Daniel Radcliffe, because I was convinced, of course, I was going to marry him. And
Yeah.
he's like 5 months younger than me or something
Right.
like that. So, yeah, all the same age.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now you like fantasy stories, so because I know Harry Potter to me is so interesting because people who, it gets audience like people who aren't even necessarily fantasy people who like it a lot, but
Yes.
you're like a fantasy junkie kind of because you read a lot of the fantasy novels.
Kind of, yeah. I think it's just so appealing because you can just like imagine this fantastical world. Like, of course, Game of Thrones is a huge obsession of mine because it has like everything you want Earth to have. Like, I want dragons, and I want magic and shit.
Yeah.
And can I say shit?
Yeah.
Okay, shit.
Fuck no.
Fuck no.
Fuck no. You can't swear on this
No,
podcast.
God damn it. It's just so appealing because you can make it like whatever you want. But
Yeah.
I think part of the reason why it's appealing to other people is because it's also very relatable, especially with Harry Potter. It's very like human, relatable things, and plus, of course, it takes place in like the London and Scotland
Yeah,
area.
I always liked how it did a good job balancing out where it's supposed to be this fantasy world, but you're also like every once in a while pulled back to be like it's supposed to be coexisting with the real world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that idea that like the magic is happening around. I think that's why, I didn't watch Fantastic Beasts when it was in theaters, but I watched it a couple months ago.
Oh yeah.
And how it's more so because it's set in New York City, so it's like
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
this magic surrounding all the normal stuff. And I get why at that period of time it was like, oh yeah, weird stuff is happening, but it's not like it's ignored greatly or like maybe in historical wise it wasn't necessarily like talked about. But like if it happened now, you can't tell me nobody would notice.
Yeah.
They're not noticing and they do that thing where they're like, no, there's a charm so they can't see us flying through the air. And I'm like, really? There's like nothing. There's no one drops the ball, accidentally does something that causes someone to see the magic, and then do they have to like, what's the
Men in Black.
Men in Black style
Flashy thing though.
mind
Yeah.
erase spell or whatever?
Obliviate.
Well, they
Yeah.
do have that. Yeah.
Right? Because they had to. Because I'm like, you can only
Like
imagine.
mass, yeah. Yeah, they did, I think they did that at the end. Yeah, of Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
They made it like rain.
Yeah, the-
Obliviation.
Rain,
big-
oblivion.
Yeah.
The big it was like a griffin kind of thing.
Oh,
Or the-
it was the Thunderbird.
Yeah, the Thunderbird.
cultural appropriated Thunderbird. Yeah. Sorry, JK. That was,
Yeah, well, she's
real.
English. They do that a lot.
they do that. They don't give a shit. They conquered most of the world.
Yeah, they're
They
like,
can do
hey, we
whatever.
gave up. We like let everybody go. Like we aren't in their business
fine.
anymore. What more do you want from us?
Yeah, seriously.
And India's like, yeah, like only 20 years ago or something. We're like, shut up. We got your independence.
Come on. Jesus.
Yeah.
Ah.
Who's your favorite character? If you had to pick just one. Is it Harry or is it?
It is not Harry. I love Ron Weasley.
Yeah.
Actually.
The
Of course.
put upon best friend.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It just like, of course, I love Hermione because she's like that smart, like good role model for
Yeah.
girls and stuff. But I always identified with Ron more.
I think a lot of us would be the Ron Weasley.
lot of us
Like
would
we'd
be the
like to
Ron.
think we'd be the Harry, we'd be the Hermione, where we'd like go into the darkness, like, ready to fight. But we'd all be the Ron who are like, are you sure I don't think we should do that.
Why do we have to
And then
do
finally
this?
they all leave and they go, wait, and then just run after, like, okay, I
Yeah.
guess I have to. But they really aren't necessarily, like, on board 100% of the time.
Yeah. No.
So.
Yep, I would definitely be Ron.
Yeah.
Or maybe Neville. Neville Longbottom.
Right?
The
Everything
awkward,
goes wrong.
Yeah, awkward kid people pick up.
Well, I can only
Yeah.
imagine, like, having to figure out magic, when you're, like, 11.
Yeah.
Just like,
And you're
oh.
already, like, awkward and just trying to figure out how to function. And then they're like, oh, but you also have
By
to
the way.
master magic. And if you don't master it, you can really cause problems.
Yeah,
That's a
lot.
little bit of a thing to ask
That's
for
a
a bunch
lot.
of kids.
Yeah, it's a lot to put on poor little kid. Aw.
I could almost see myself being Luna,
Oh,
but not
Luna.
as much like not the positivity and niceness, but more just the like space
Oblivious?
cadet.
Oh, yeah.
oblivious.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I always her like Gryffindor lion hat that roars
Yeah.
and shit.
Yeah.
Like, I would wear that.
Oh, yeah.
Just totally out there.
Right.
Yeah. I also definitely identify with that as well. Oh, Luna.
I like they got a lot of school spirit at that school.
They do.
Always
There's
were-
too much. There's too much.
Too
of that.
much?
Like
They get
every
too involved?
single person goes to the Quidditch games.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't do that. No.
No.
I'd stay behind.
Right?
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, it's finally quiet in this dorm.
Yes. Do whatever I want. Damn.
Okay, I just thought up some just general questions. They're a little bit there's some deep questions in there, but I
Oh,
figure if
shit.
anyone can tackle them,
Okay.
it'd be a super fan.
Here we go.
Was Dumbledore the real villain of the Harry Potter book series?
Oh.
Now, where's your stance on Dumbledore? Because a lot of people are like, oh no, he's great. Other people are like, well, he made some questionable choices.
Trusting the whole wizarding world on Harry Potter's
Right?
shoulders.
We got
is
this
a
little kid. We're going to let him do it. And
It's
I'm
just-
not going
yeah.
to tell him everything. I'm just going to give him little things here and there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna hope that he makes better decisions than what I did.
Right?
Yeah, that's a little
It's like,
bit.
have you met teen boys? They don't make good decisions.
They don't whatsoever. They have hormones
yeah.
and they're stupid. I mean, I think that's the point of Dumbledore is that he's not like a perfect character, and you realize
Yeah.
that, especially in the last book, they really kind of hammer that home that he's
Yeah.
not perfect. But I mean, he had kind of impossible choices, and I think he always
Yeah.
made the right kind of like he had the right intentions.
Yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's going on? Huh? Did you? Okay, I don't know what I'm doing.
April's like, wait, no, I'm the one that makes weird faces and notices tiny things.
What?
I'll be talking and I'll look over and she'll just be like staring at the wall, like with wide eyes. And I'm like, oh my god, what's going on? And it'll just,
Something happening.
yeah, I think that's a good point because I think he's a good. I waver on my opinions of Dumbledore because of some of the things, his actions in the books, but I think he's a good representation, especially for kids to view adults. Mm-hmm. Because you're right, it's that idea that, like, he had to make these decisions. He had to make them. Mm-hmm. Was he making the best ones? Maybe eventually overall, maybe not. But in the moment, whatever he decided to him was a good idea.
Yeah.
Which is what we do as adults. We just make the decision that we think is good decision in the moment.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, at any point, he always acknowledged that he could have been bad.
Yeah.
But he stepped away from that and
Or that he realized that he shouldn't have power.
yes, yeah,
to recognize that about yourself, especially since I figure in the wizarding world they prove it's so easy not to be good. It's like that absolute power corrupts absolutely idea,
Yeah.
You essentially, they're like, here's a wand, and once you figure out all the words and terminology and what to think, you can pretty much do anything you want. And we're just going to trust that like 90% of you are going to do the right thing, and just 10% of you are going to be the evil.
Yeah.
Because the fact that they don't have higher rates of criminals in the wizarding world is pretty baffling to me.
I feel like all that's just kind of hidden because they have a whole
They wouldn't-
massive prison dedicated to
that
criminals.
they give like demon soul suckers who they don't even have 100% control over. Because then when they like get out, they're like, sorry, they got out. We can't. It'd be like hiring
Didn't
worse.
happen.
It'd be
False
like
news.
hiring. It'd be like hiring worse criminals to be the prison guards of the other criminals.
Yeah.
But I will never understand his like just complete 125% in like faith and investment in Snape. I get it. At the end, it was like he wasn't bad. But But he still did a lot of bad stuff in his quest to try to take down Voldemort. And you know what I mean? And I get that whole, like, well, sometimes you gotta do things, you know, get your hands messy. But I don't know, no matter what happened, no matter who Dumbledore questioned, he never questioned. It was always like, and I'm just like, I mean, even having a 5-minute conversation with him, and even if I knew he was good, I'd be like, oh my god, this guy. He's so annoying.
He's greasy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that hair of his.
Name's Snape.
And he insists on wearing that thing all the way up. He looks like a weird, like a goth nun.
He was like a poor Alan Rickman.
He looked like the lead singer. He looked like the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, but like it was a nun.
I wonder though how much of it was like protection though, because he was like bullied all through school.
That's true. He did have a hard life.
So
I'm wondering for
life.
that. Eventually, are they going to get around to that? Because I know they're doing Dumbledore's story and the what's his name with the other G? Because all the names kind of blend together. Grindelwald.
Yeah.
But eventually, after they run out of that story, you think they're going to be like, well, who else can we go and talk about their? Is he going to be the Wolverine of the franchise, where he just keeps getting origin stories?
Going and going and going. I bet so. Yeah, they can make money off those for a long time.
Right. They could totally do Harry's parents and that like group
awesome.
in school and make like 4 or 5 movies out of that.
Oh yeah.
If they wanted to.
Yeah.
Them
That'd be great.
growing up.
Okay, here's something that I probably fixate on too much because I get it, it's a children's book, but I think there's an issue with child abuse in the wizarding world.
I can agree with that.
There's some actions that are taken against kids. Well, putting aside the fact that they're entrusting their entire universe, on the shoulders of a 12-year-old kid. I mean, I granted when they finally battle, he's 16, 15 or whatever. But still, like, all that and like them having to be like, no, you have to like, you don't have a choice, dude. You have to battle him. Like, that's...
And nobody's like, what?
Yeah.
There has to be some other way. No one ever tries to find.
And then even on a daily... Even if you put that whole story arc aside, on a daily basis, there's people smacking kids, locking them up, Umbridge, for Christ's sake.
Oh, Umbridge.
When they have to write the thing in detention and it carves into their skin.
Yeah.
How is nobody being like, yeah, that's not right?
Well, she was crazy evil,
She
though,
was
too.
crazy.
But that was
She was
before
God.
she had, like, the Horcrux to kind of blame it on.
Yeah, she was,
So
she
she
was
was
evil
just-
anyway.
I mean,
she
there's
was
evil, psychotic people anyway, but...
And they were working for the man.
The
Wow.
minister,
For the man.
yeah.
If that wasn't a sign of things to come. Jeez.
Yeah, and I always love that they kept Filch around as the and he was always like, we just need to string him up.
Yeah.
Just cuff him up. And I'm like, why do you have this guy around?
I'm
Like,
just waiting.
why?
I just was that scene where like, you know, like McGonagall comes in and he's just like literally like switching a kid and he's like, she was mean to my cat, you know, just something. And you're like, this guy's clearly got some screws loose because he's mad because he's a
he's a squib. He's a squib. Yeah. I wondered why he always
I think
kept
that a lot of the older wizards seem unhappy, and I think they took that out a lot on the kids.
They did.
Because the adults that seemed fine, like the Weasleys, were super, super nice to their kids. But then the ones who were like angry because life wasn't good, even though you're fucking wizards. To me, if your life's not good, that's completely 100% you, because you have the ability to make it better anytime you want.
True, yeah.
You know? All right.
Go into the Muggle world and just be a millionaire.
Pretty much, you just bring some of your, like, a couple of your secrets, not everything, but just a couple of them.
You can totally run the world. I mean, you can control people's minds. You can
Seriously.
sneak into whatever meeting you need to be in.
Yeah, they should go back and be like, Stalin was a wizard and Hitler was a wizard and like all these crazy dictators who took over the world.
Yep.
Right? Okay, why aren't Harry's parents ghosts?
Why aren't they ghosts?
Yeah, because did they ever really solidify the rules to why certain people were ghosts and why others weren't?
They did talk about it when Harry was convinced that Sirius would come back as a ghost, and he went and found Nearly Headless Nick, and Nearly Headless Nick basically said, like, it's a path that few would take because most would prefer to go on. It's usually people who have, like, a vendetta or something are the ones who, like, prefer to remain ghosts. Like, people who are...
Like being at peace, where it's just like, no, they died and that's where they want to be.
But-
They don't want to...
And I completely understand why they would not choose it. However, if I was like a 13-year-old Harry, and it was like, no, your parents could have become ghosts to stay around, to be around you. They could have, but they didn't. Even if maybe later on I thought, oh, that was a smart decision. At the time, I'd be like, why aren't they ghosts? Why did they abandon me twice?
bitches.
Right?
Yeah. Left me for the Dursleys.
Yeah.
Because
Assholes.
he's the smart one.
Yeah,
that
there's
knows
child
that
abuse
they're-
right there.
They're not
Yes.
ghosts, but they're always in his heart.
And you can look at him through the mirror or whatever.
Yes, you
they
can look
appear
at
to
him in
him
the
when
mirror.
they appear to him when he's fighting and stuff sometimes. When what's his name died in the fourth book, didn't they
That
appear to him?
was because everyone that Voldemort had killed, their ghosts
Oh
popped
yeah,
out
yeah.
for a limited time, just while that connection was going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But can you imagine if that led to like some sort of like crazy addiction for Harry, where he's like constantly trying to like fight evil forces so that he can see his parents or something? I don't know.
I can see that.
I think there are like mental repercussions to some of the actions occurring in the book that would like scar him later on as an adult.
Well, yeah,
Like
for sure.
Like he comes out, he's like a homeless guy on the streets, and he's like, "I was the greatest wizard of all time once," and they're like, "Yeah, okay, old man."
Okay, sure. Yeah. I always wondered about like that mirror that was
Yeah.
just in the first book and then it just disappeared. I was like, why was it there?
I think he just destroyed it.
Did he destroy
Did he
it?
Like
just-
Dumbledore probably destroyed it, or they moved it somewhere
He didn't
else.
destroy it when he was battling what's his name at the end of the first one because he
Coral?
yeah
Yeah.
Did,
I don't-
it
It
didn't
wasn't
destroy
destroyed,
there, did
no.
No.
it? It went wherever the time turner went that they
Well,
never used again.
Oh, those bitches.
Even though it literally, I mean, like, okay, so use the time turner so that Hermione can take double classes,
yeah.
but they don't use it to go back and maybe, like, yeah, kill Voldemort when he was that tiny fetus-looking thing on the back of what's his
Oh,
name's
that would have
head.
been great. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I know that there was like some stipulation where you could they could only go back like 5 hours is the maximum or something like that. But yeah,
I would have
why-
come in at
shit.
least one more time.
At
they could've-
least, yeah.
the
when
scene where they're
Sirius
in the
died.
very the last book or whatever, where they're in the ministry and they almost get caught and they have to end up in. They could have used it for that. Like, there's so many times they could have done it.
Yeah.
Cedric didn't have to die.
Right?
No one had to die. Yeah.
Could have just like, oh,
Again,
he's
a
dead,
lot less
flip it
child
back.
murder in that book than had to be.
I think she just did it for the plot. Like Fred.
Right.
I was very angry about Fred.
Both the twins he could
Well,
still have his ear.
He could have his ear.
I think it's a conflict too. Like you need to kill off. There's so many
Yeah.
characters in there where like you had to kind of kill
Yeah.
off a few.
You could have sent
They
someone
could've
on
gone for that.
vacation, like a holiday. Like, oh, well, you guys go to the our meeting, our plan B. You guys go do plan B, and then they just leave.
No,
And you never have to find out what plan B
Doesn't
is.
fuel your hatred of the enemy.
Oh, the casualties to make you.
True.
Because if you weren't
Yeah.
convinced he was evil
Didn't hate them
enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
They killed Fred. Now I really hate them.
I was like, I was on board with this Voldemort guy, and then he killed one of the twins, and I was just like, nope.
Nope. That's the final straw. That's it. Ugh.
Okay, here's something. The big brother aspect of the wizarding world. Okay, well, some wizards, like young wizards, are watched. Or when they're in the Hogwarts castle, they lose or gain points even if there aren't adults around because they're being monitored by whatever. Yet, they can't monitor like, I'm just seeing where the line is with who they choose to monitor and who they
A
don't.
professor has to specifically say like, oh, you lost points for your house. Mm-hmm. It's not just like they trip someone or they're a jerk and then points disappear. It's when they're disciplined.
But they monitor the kids because if the kids use magic outside of school, then they get in trouble. So they can monitor.
I think they kind of explained that in the 7th book. It was called the trace was on them or something. It wasn't
Like a curse type of thing.
Yeah, they kind of.
So they curse all babies
like
when they're born.
like an alcoholic like ankle bracelet.
They monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how come they don't monitor everyone in the
Basically.
wizarding world then if they just monitor kids?
They probably do.
I think they do.
You can't tell me there's like the wizard world equivalent of like those crazy rednecks who live in nowhere and who are like, I don't have to pay taxes, that like are convinced everyone's watching and then refuse to be monitored by the government. They won't have like debit cards. They don't want their name. They live off the grid.
Oh, that's like Voldemort's ancestors, the Gaunts.
Yeah.
They lived in that little hut.
Yeah.
That's
Because-
totally them. That's
So
100%
because they're
them.
like, we don't want to be monitored. So it makes
Yeah.
you think, are they monitoring everybody? And if so, how come they aren't catching more shit?
I think it's just like when it becomes to the attention of like the Muggles.
Uh-huh.
So once the Muggles start reporting it or saying
Yeah.
stuff, then they're like, oh, something over here is happening.
So they're more worried about how their wizards are perceived than how their actual society is functioning.
Yes.
Probably, I think so.
Yeah.
Then they're no better than the Muggles, are they?
No, they don't give a shit.
Well, we've had conversations. My big stance, Annie, I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this personally, but I think magic has made the wizards lazy because when they can't come across something, like a spell that can fix something, they have no idea what to do.
What do we do?
Which is why they have, like, like a spell where that'll like write something for them, yet they don't have computers, or they, you know what I mean? Like they don't need technology, so they've never invented it, so that they're still writing with quill pens. You know, it's like, is it really that difficult to come up with a pen? Like it was, you know what I mean? Or a
Instead of
pencil?
just like taking 2 seconds to look up a spell or something that they need, or a recipe, they have to go dig through all the books.
Yeah, exactly. There's no database, there's no card catalog. Because they haven't need to, but then if something comes up where a spell doesn't work or it can't fix it, they have like no fucking clue what to do.
True.
Or
They do use tape though.
Oh,
They use
yeah.
old school tape.
Do they? What do they use tape for?
Well, like, I think whenever Harry breaks his glasses before
that's
Hermione
true.
shows up, he just wraps them
yeah.
in tape. But he's a Muggle.
Yeah.
But then
Spellotape. They use spellotape.
yeah, Ron, when he snaps his wand in half, he just wraps tape around it.
Right.
and
Even though
hopes
they
it's
even though they continue to nail up things on the cement walls, and like they don't tape posters up, or create spells where they hover. I don't know. There were certain elements of, like, I'm sure they could be using magic, but they're not. That I just find interesting, like when they choose to use it, when they don't choose to use it.
Yeah. I always thought it was interesting, like, it wasn't until, like, the 7th book when they were like, oh, we can't, like, get food out of thin air, when they had to try and explain why Harry and Ron and Hermione were all starving in the little tents. But throughout the entire series, it was always like, Dumbledore flicked his wand, and then bam, there's a freaking cupcake or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the 7th book when
or an entire feast. I just
headphones
went
Well,
out.
they make that tent super huge inside. They couldn't put a refrigerator in there. You know what I mean? They
yeah.
couldn't have put a cooler with some.
Yeah, it had like a stove and everything.
Yeah,
it
like,
smelled like cats. Like,
she has that
shit.
gigantic purse. She couldn't have put a couple of bags of chips in there, save
I
them for
know.
later.
Yeah, it was. What was the engorgement charm? I think she put on. No, I don't remember.
Whatever
what
it
it's
was,
called.
yeah.
But either way, she could fit whatever
Basically.
the hell she wanted.
She
in
put
there.
clothes
Mary
in
Poppins
there.
bag.
Yes, the Mary Poppins bag.
Right.
Mary Poppins was a wizard.
She was.
Yes.
She was.
Yes.
Is it the same universe? Mary Poppins and.
Yeah.
She talked to her reflection in her picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She jumped into paintings.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
She was a witch.
That makes
a
sense.
witch.
She's a witch!
She's a witch.
a
Get her.
Turned me into a newt.
I got better. They are doing a Mary Poppins sequel. Have you seen the trailer for that yet?
Yeah.
Mary Poppins Returns.
Or I don't know. I haven't seen the trailer, but I've heard about it.
Yeah.
I thought I heard that like Emily Blunt almost died.
What?
Well, they probably
Doing it?
Serious?
they're probably like, here's an umbrella, jump off this building.
Yeah,
and she's like,
she was like-
can I get a harness or something? And they're like, oh, I guess.
Wow.
And they're like, she's such a diva, wants a harness.
It'd be way cooler if you just jumped off without
Right?
the harness.
I'm excited because Lin-Manuel Miranda's playing Chimney Sweep.
Oh, that's fun.
And I'm hoping they sing.
They
I
better
assume they
sing.
both sing because they both sing in real life. I assume they're.
Is he gonna do a horrible Cockney accent too?
Oh, blimey!
I would hope so.
And he starts singing about Alexander Hamilton, and they're like, "No, that's a different. that's
no, stop.
American history. This
Different
is
one.
Winston Churchill. I don't know very much about the history of England.
Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill. I don't know who was around at the time as
That's it.
Hamilton.
Let's see, that's what, 1800s, right?
Yeah.
Early
So, yeah.
1800s?
Well,
okay.
Hamilton was late 1700s, early 1800s.
Sure.
Because he was an official founding father, right? He was later on.
Stop
yeah.
talking, Anna. You're making us sound stupid.
We know
But
things
asking me questions
about
I don't know.
Alexander.
You make me sound stupid.
I don't know nothing about that.
That's terrible.
Okay, so there's two quizzes.
Do you want to do a commercial first with our little?
Ooh, what's a
Yeah, let's do a
commercial?
commercial.
We
We
haven't done
just
those
did
in a
this.
while.
We just
Oh.
did this.
Okay, I like
Okay.
commercials.
Hang on.
Oh.
Harry Potter has been enchanting readers and audiences young and old for over 20 years. And since the popular film franchise has come to a close, fans have been clamoring for a Harry Potter musical. Due to the success of the play Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, we've finally worn J.K. Rowling down, and she's agreed to let us bring the wizarding world to the musical stage in all its glory. Podcrash Theater is proud to present Harry Potter from the Muggles' Perspective, a musical event. Sit back and follow Bob Jones, a Muggle train worker who accidentally gets hired on the Hogwarts Express and is introduced to a mythical world of magic and mystery.
I'm just a spotty old train conductor. I don't know if magic's real. God, that's a big castle, isn't it? Wonder what's in there then.
Early reviews are in and everybody's talking about Harry Potter from the Muggles' Perspective, a musical event. Nigel Wilson of the London Times calls it, an interesting take on a classic, I guess. Janet Truman of Theatre Review says, wait, so it's about Muggles? I'm confused. And when asked what she thought about it, Bernadette Sampson of the Harry Potter Tween Fan Club just started openly sobbing. New characters mix with old favorites as Bob tries to understand the wizarding world.
Well, who's that then?
Why, that's Harry Potter, the greatest wizard who ever lived.
You mean the geezer with the glasses? Pals around with frizzy hair and ginger man? Nah, I don't care for that specky four eyes. I just prefer that Aryan-looking bloke who spends an inordinate amount of time with that pedo-looking dark arts teacher.
You'll be singing along with these soon-to-be classics, such as They Give the Magic Wands to Children? So Many Rooms and I Can't Find the Loo. The Dementor's Lament. Really, when you think about it, the political and socio-economical aspects of the wizarding world make little to no sense. And more.
Oi, what's with all the child murder? Seriously, they just keep trying to kill children. Someone should really intervene. Someone preferably outside the wizard world.
So, get your tickets to the musical event of the season that J.K. Rowling herself calls a complete and utter disaster. They've sullied the name of my beloved series. I'm honestly going to sue them. Harry Potter, from the Muggles' Perspective, a musical event. And we're back.
Wow.
Sounds like a good musical to go see.
Right?
Get your tickets now.
I would sit front row.
Right?
For sure.
I want to hear the Dementor's Lament.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it would be like just like that sound, like over and over again.
You know, they made a good point about so many rooms and can't find the loo.
Right?
It didn't seem like there were that many loos.
Yeah,
in
there was
building.
that castle's perspective, like the point, like the sizing of that castle's really always threw me off because it was fucking huge. Yet there was only like the same. There's no way.
There's just a lot of hallways.
There could have been
many
so many
hallways,
people
yeah.
hanging out in that castle that no one knew about.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like in the first book when there's like a 3-headed dog and a whole under like that no one knew was there. I'd believe that.
Oh, yeah.
Like no one once thought like, man, this is a real big castle and we only like occupy like 35% of it.
Maybe we should, and all the poor little house elves just slid
Right?
away.
Oh, don't even get me started on the slavery aspect of house elves. But
Yeah.
I am strongly with Hermione on that
Yes,
topic.
Yep, it's you.
Okay, so we have 2 quizzes. One is the BuzzFeed a Harry Potter soulmate quiz.
Okay, good.
I was taking before.
Yeah,
as you came in.
April and I have already taken it, so we know our answers. But we're gonna give you the quiz, and we're gonna all talk about who our answers
Oh,
were.
God.
Okay, so this is BuzzFeed. It's everyone has a soulmate from Harry Potter. Here's yours. Okay.
Okay.
So first of all, Annie, what's your Hogwarts house?
I'm a Ravenclaw.
Okay.
With Beyond Measures, man's greatest treasure. Yes.
Do you have that on a T-shirt? Because you really should.
I probably should.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put it everywhere.
Ravenclaw represent. Which class did you meet your soulmate in? Muggle Studies, History of Magic, Potions, Defense Against the Dark Arts, Charmed, or Herbology?
History of Magic.
Okay. Pick a first date location. Hogsmeade, the 3 Broomsticks, the Leaky Cauldron, the Common Room, the Hogwarts Library, or the Forbidden Forest.
Oh, let's go with Hogsmeade.
All right.
Yeah.
You think that's like make out point, and it'd be like that's where all the teens go and like fondle each other is the Forbidden Forest.
Forbidden.
They don't get eaten by the giant spiders.
Yeah.
Oh, the acromantulas.
That's what makes it exciting. Is not that you're gonna get caught, is the fact that you might get eaten. That's what makes it sexy. All right, take a look at these and then pick an outfit you want to wear to the Yule Ball.
One of them is Fleur Delacour's dress. One's Hermione's. And then just a bunch of the dudes.
Okay.
What's her name?
Cho Chang.
Cho Chang.
Okay, I'm gonna wear Ron Weasley's dress robes.
They were some snazzy ones. They were ruffles.
Snazzy.
Pick someone to officiate your wedding. Molly Weasley, Rubius Hagrid, Trelawney, Lucius Malfoy, McGonagall, or Lockhart.
Oh man, I think Trelawney would give a really interesting
right.
That's
what I said too. Yeah.
Yes.
I could picture you like getting married on the beach, and it's kind of like a hippie wedding, and she could initiate that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, pick a creature you want to adopt together. I'll name them and then hand it to you. Owl, Niffler, the hippogriff, the bowtruckle, a cat, or the demigeise.
The sloth-looking thing.
Yeah.
The sloth-looking
Looks
thing.
like a sloth and an old man.
Yeah.
Okay, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely the Niffler, because he can find some treasure.
He can niffle out that treasure.
For that.
And then finally pick a name of your future child. Albus, James, Lily, Luna, Scorpius, or you're not going to have kids.
Well, my dog is named Albus, so Albus.
We named you after the dog.
Yes.
Your soulmate is Luna Lovegood.
Oh, I really like that.
I think it'd be fun. You'd have to take care of all the finances because I think she'd be real.
Her head would be up.
Real squirrely.
She'd be dropping the ball on paying bills on time. I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, she'd probably accidentally kill herself.
it says sure, Luna might be quirky, but she has a heart of gold. She can confront you during the hard times and support you in your best ventures, no matter how bizarre they may be. Let Luna's serene disposition and dreamlike voice help you calm your worries. She could probably talk you to sleep.
She could talk me to sleep.
Calm you to sleep.
Little wispy voice.
April got George Weasley.
George.
She's a good one.
Yep, and I got the big man, HP.
What?
Yep.
Shit.
Which I don't know if I'm, because I was much more of a Ron Weasley fan
Yes,
too.
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I think
I wanted Ron. But...
I'd be in for a load of like, a lot of taking him to his psychiatrist sessions and talking him down PTSD style randomly at night and stuff when he wakes up and has like those Nom flashbacks.
Yes. Your lightning scar is not hurting you.
Yeah, it's just in your head. It's just in your head, like rocking him on the floor.
Because Severus dropped a book on your head. That's it.
Yeah. I miss my parents. Okay. Okay. This next one is how normal are your Harry Potter opinions? So I'm going to give you two options, and we're going to click them, and then the results are going to show statistically out of the people who've taken the quiz what the most common answer is.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so number one. Was Severus Snape a hero or a dick? Do you think he was a hero or a total dick?
That's a hard one. Can't he be both? Because he was a dick.
He was a dicky hero.
He was a dicky hero.
I think I think they mean like when it comes down to his core, because I think what he thought, like, I think he always thought what he was doing was still heroic, even if he had to do terrible things to do it.
I can see, but yeah, I want to say dick, but he did a lot of things to like help Harry, and
such a rough
he
life.
became headmaster to kind of save the kids.
Yeah.
It says hero, he loved Lily and opposed Voldemort bravely, or total dick, it doesn't matter if he loved Lily and hated James, there's no excuse for child abuse.
There is no excuse for child abuse.
True.
Damn it.
He took it out on Harry because he didn't like his dad, and I'm like, that's terrible.
That's true. And I was always curious, like, why... It seemed like he was always trying to get Harry expelled, and I always wondered, like, did he think Harry would be safer in the Muggle world, or was he trying to
That's the downside to how he died, is
I
I know he got to go and look at his memories and figure out, like, the reason behind what he did, but they didn't give him enough time at the end to really explain a lot of his actions, because I'd be curious to know some of the reasons he did things.
That doesn't make sense.
Though, again, like, he was trying to get Harry expelled, but then Harry was trying to pin a lot of shit on him constantly.
He just constantly thought he was evil, which he
was,
but he wasn't. Yeah. But I think it was more like he just looked like he was evil and he was a dick, and it was like, well, it must be him because he's an asshole. Yeah. Not necessarily. Good people can be jerks, too.
Yeah.
I will go with hero, though, because he could have done... way worse shit than what he did.
Okay,
sure.
62% said hero, and only 38% said total dick.
Wow.
Yeah. Who do you hate more, Voldemort or Umbridge?
Umbridge.
Yeah, Umbridge. actually.
Voldemort was upfront about his evilness. Umbridge
She was-
tried to hide it and act sweet.
Oh,
And
the
she wore
little
pink
bow.
and had all those
Pink,
cat
yeah.
pictures.
Cardigans, yeah. Yeah.
It says, and 21% said Voldemort, 79% said
Yeah.
Umbridge.
Yeah.
Let's see. Which house is the best? Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Slytherin, and Hufflepuff. That's tricky because the reason it's like. I think the reason they all exist is because they balance, right?
They do balance each other out.
Because
but-
I mean, I would argue that Slytherin is the weakest, just because it's mostly just bad people, not
The
everybody.
bullies that they cower whenever they
Yeah.
get. Yeah.
But yeah, isn't the whole point is they're supposed to balance each other out, like the 4 temperaments or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the question?
Which one's the best?
Best.
Oh. I mean, obviously, I'll have to go with my Ravenclaw.
I'd have to go with Hufflepuff if that were the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But being smart is good.
Well, a lot of people would be apt to say Gryffindor, but
Yeah, I think
they're
you're
like the show-offs. They need the other people to like take them back and be like, "Hey, calm
listen
down."
here.
They're like the jocks, essentially,
they're
right?
super competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like
Yep.
the jocks. The Hufflepuff or the Ravenclaws are like the brains.
Yep.
Slytherins are like the bullies.
Yep.
And then Hufflepuffs are like the
Theater nerds.
theater nerds, or like the fat ones. You know, just
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe
like
I
the
would.
like the friendly chubby one.
I might have to go with Hufflepuff when you talk about it that way.
I think there'd be a lot less going on, but I think it'd be calmer. It'd be boring, but it'd be calmer. I think people would be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's what being a wizard is. That's kind of boring."
Yeah.
They're the peacekeepers. Yeah.
47% said Gryffindor,
Of course.
followed by Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, and Hufflepuff and Slytherin are tied at 14%.
What? No.
Who is the better Dumbledore? Richard Harris, who played Dumbledore in the first 2 movies, or Michael Gambon, who played him in the rest of them?
Reading the books, I pictured the first Dumbledore more. Like, he
Yeah.
matched
Yes.
exactly what I was thinking of.
Yep. I agree.
But can you imagine that Dumbledore in the later films when he got a lot more like aggressive? Though maybe that was a choice by the actor, because I don't know in the book necessarily if he ever changed that much.
Goblet of Fire.
I don't like...
Because in the Goblet of Fire, he was real like,
Goblet of
you put
Fire."
your name in there, and it's like, calm down, dude.
Yeah, he
Your
wasn't
blood
that
pressure's
angry.
peaking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the books, it seemed like he was always chill.
Yeah, he was always
Yeah.
calm.
He was always the
Yeah.
one that's just like, oh, well, did he do that? Or,
I don't know.
like, is that the only way it could have happened? Like, he was the voice of reason. Like, he would have been like a Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw
Yeah,
or something, but, like,
But I think he was a
I like-
Gryffindor.
right?
Yeah. I think he was.
He was, I think, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think he would have.
But they always, yeah,
probably because
JK
he was
put all
good
the
but
good
power
people.
hungry.
Well, they're doing a young version of him, so maybe the young version will be a little bit more.
Jude Law.
Yeah.
I find it weird that I find Dumbledore sexy. It's kind of strange to me.
Well, he's not batting for your team, unfortunately.
Uh,
I heard they're not really playing that up. Not that you want to go watch Dumbledore, young Dumbledore, just make out with people, but at the same time, it's like if that's going to be one of those things that's going to play heavily into his life, is who he was with.
yeah.
You know, well, they never say it, but I was sent an underlined like, oh, maybe that's why him and Grindelwald had a thing. Maybe it was like a lover's quarrel, and they just kind of.
Kinda. Yeah.
After she said that, you know, hey, he's gay, like that actually makes sense to me. Like,
Right?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, they're partners. They're always buddying around. I bet they'll even it out where he'll have like, he'll try to hide like that he's gay, because I don't know how prevalent
How open they were in the wizard world at the time.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
wizard world, if it was kind of like the normal
World at the time.
world where everyone's like
Yeah.
evil.
Yeah, it was. What I want to say, homosexuality was considered a mental illness in England until I think the early 80s.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So it was that idea that like, oh, you're gay, well, you're sick. Like, you're legitimately sick
Yeah.
in the head.
yeah.
So maybe it was the same. You like to think the wizarding world is more progressive that way, but
I don't think so.
they have a lot of old world ideas in some of the ways.
Maybe they'll
True.
surprise us. I don't know.
But 49% said Richard Harris and 51 said Michael Gambon. So 49 said the first one, second one, 51. Which book is the best? I like Prisoner of Azkaban. It's my favorite book. It's my favorite movie.
Okay.
I like parts of Order of the Phoenix, but the book itself was so long
It was long.
and was so kind of, I don't know, it shifted so much that I was, you know, I liked all the bits where they were doing they were like training and stuff, but
Yeah. Harry was a little too whiny in that book, which
Yeah.
I understand, but he just kept like snapping at Harry or Ron and Hermione. I'm like, stop it,
Yeah.
you bitch.
I know you're jealous.
I love Half-Blood Prince. I just love that it explores the backstory.
Yeah.
And of course, Dumbledore dying. That ending was just yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
So that's probably my favorite.
Okay.
I'm leaning towards, I think, Order of the Phoenix.
Okay.
I think that's the one that I probably cried the most in.
Oh, and Order of the Phoenix has Neville's parents when they go see him.
Yeah.
Oh, that like tore my heart out.
Yep.
Yeah, there's some good ones.
Right.
Do they run into Lockhart again, too?
Yeah.
I think?
Yeah,
the
'cause
closed
he's
ward.
in
He's
the-
running around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He still
They
doesn't
see
know
him.
anything about who he is and
Yeah.
everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how they run. into
Okay,
Neville.
so 6% said Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone.
Okay.
3% said Chamber of Secrets. 29 said Prisoner of Azkaban. 21 said Goblet of Fire. 14 said Order of the Phoenix. 14 for Half-Blood Prince. And 13 for Deathly Hallows.
Good.
Deathly Hallows, if the first half of the book wasn't just them running around camping, then I think I would have liked it more because so much of it was just them hiding out.
Yeah.
I'm like, this.
A lot of them just being in the woods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they could have cut down on that. I mean, I did like a little because it gave that kind of
Yeah.
outlaw
Yeah.
feeling. I hated the end of that book. It just felt like, oh, you killed him.
It
Oh,
was
it's
all
done.
it was all this build up to a very lackluster finale. Well, that's one
yes.
of the things I didn't like about was it Order of the Phoenix? Is that the one where they show up at the end at Hogwarts and are supposed to have a big battle?
That's the second
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Battle of
And
Hogwarts.
it's more of a battle in the book, but the movie made it seem like because they come in and they kick through the building and they and everyone runs scared and then maybe one person dies and then they leave and I'm like, all that for
Nothing.
nothing.
I want more deaths. Damn it.
Yeah. Beatrix Lestrange just shows up and acts weird and everyone's scared.
Oh, God,
Lena.
Bellatrix.
Yeah.
Oh, Bellatrix. Lena.
That psycho bitch.
Right? Which movie was the best? And they count Deathly Hallows 1 and 2 separately.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
That I would definitely say Prisoner of Azkaban. Because I think the way it was filmed, because the guy who did it was the only one he directed and he was a horror movie director, the weird, the weird creepy stuff about it seemed it fit with the wizard world to me. So I liked that look, that aesthetic, and I would have liked to see that carried a little bit further through the movies.
There's a couple I haven't seen on principle. I've never seen Half-Blood Prince.
Really? You've never seen? I
haven't,
figured you would have
no.
seen all the movies just at least once to say you did.
I've read the books so many times that
Yeah.
when just the slightest thing is wrong.
And there's no way they can put everything in there, and then there's no way, in that sense, they can really satisfy you.
Yeah, so I heard that they cut too much out of the sixth one, and I just couldn't
Yeah.
bring myself to watch it. Honestly, I really liked the first one
Yeah.
a lot.
Even with the terrible child actors.
Even with the terrible child actors, it just seemed really authentic.
I liked
very-
Emma Watson's over enunciation child actor thing where she
yeah.
would open her mouth very wide when she would say her lines.
Well, because wasn't she more of she did a lot of stage stuff?
I think I don't think she'd ever acted before. I think she was one of those ones who was
Yeah.
in school and they were just like, you look like what we think Hermione looks like. You can be in this movie. And obviously they all got better
They did, yeah.
because, they're all still acting.
I remember an interview with her saying that they had to constantly yell at her because she would memorize everyone else's lines
Yes,
also and lip them.
Yes, yeah.
That's
Like,
one of-
Emma,
I
you're
think-
doing it again.
That's a very Hermione thing.
Yeah, I think
to
that's
do.
one of the reasons that she's so lovable is because there's a lot of similarities in the character. And I think that's because she's kind of a nerd at heart, and I think that's why,
I just didn't like she was always supposed to have bushy hair and shit like that.
Oh,
and
and
then
they
later in the
they had to
books,
make her
tamed it
pretty.
down,
Down,
and
yeah.
I'm like, God damn it, make her with her bushy hair.
That's
and,
the one thing that the one qualm I have about the film series is even though I know everyone kids got along and they I don't think they did enough to build a believable friendship between all of them.
Yeah.
At least the final three, at least the main three.
Really?
Yeah,
You don't think they
well,
were...
no, they seemed like they got along and they were okay, but I didn't believe that they were like, it's they built it in a way where, because so much stuff was happening all the time, like, they banded together because they had to support each other. But to me, that doesn't necessarily mean, that means that, like, whenever the action stops and they have to go and be regular people, they're not going to stay friends because all of their interactions has been so highly dramatic. I think if they would have done better at building, like, a common bond of, like, just the average, like, even when we're not fighting for our lives, you know, Harry and Ron can be, like, in the dorms just, like, throwing stuff at each other, making jokes, and, like, I don't think was there as much. And I get it, there's a lot of stuff, storyline, and you can't really, like, take whole scenes to, like, put together this, like, interaction that's not important to the story but going to show, like, this friendship. But I just never bought that when all was said and done that they were going to stay that close of friends.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't get the impression that Ron and Hermione were going to get married.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I figured, okay, they like each other because they've been friends and all this stuff, but... And I don't necessarily think she should have ended up with Harry either. I know that's a very common thing. I don't think that... But I didn't picture them getting married. And I certainly didn't picture Harry marrying Ginny Weasley.
No.
That part always bothered me. I'm like, why? Did he need
can't.
somebody? They gave him, like... It's like they needed him to have a girlfriend, so she was there.
Ginny Weasley. No.
I mean, it's like, I kind of saw it as more just, like, taking after his father and, like, liking redheads.
Okay. All right.
You
gotta
date
think for
your mother or
redheads.
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. I can get down with that.
Yeah, it was coincidental that she looked a lot like his mother.
Okay. Getting Sigmund Freud up in here.
Right?
Yeah.
God.
Okay, so which movie
What
do
were
we...
we talking about?
Which movie do we think was the best? So
I just liked the first one because it seemed like very
Okay.
authentic. Like, again, Hermione had the bushy hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
discovering everything. I think I'm leaning towards the fourth one.
Okay.
Just for the kind of...
Goblet of Fire?
Goblet of
Goblet of
Fire,
Fire.
yeah. The funnier, lighthearted moments.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially with, like, Fred and George.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
11% Sorcerer's Stone. 5% was Chamber of Secrets. 25 was Prisoner of Azkaban. Azkaban.
Azkaban.
That's a porno version. 16% said Goblet of Fire. 9 said Order of the Phoenix. 11 said Half-Blood Prince. 6 said Deathly Hallows Part 1. 17% said Deathly Hallows Part 2. Deathly Hallows Part 1 legitimately is just them camping the whole time.
Yeah.
Whom should Harry or Hermione ended up with? Ron, Harry, or I ship Hermione and her own damn self?
I do ship Hermione and her own damn self. I was always like Hermione and Victor. Like,
Right?
Yes. They were just like so cute.
Yeah.
And I did find it weird because like Hermione was only like 14 or 15.
Yeah.
Only
and
14
he
and
was supposed
Victor
to
was like 18.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of strange.
Right?
But,
I mean, it's like high school, like a senior dating a freshman.
Which was gross.
which is kind of gross.
but...
Yeah. But,
It's not so gross when you're a freshman, but suddenly when you're a senior and all your like the people you're in school are dating the freshmen, it seems really weird then.
yeah, for sure.
I it's one of those things where like you have people you go to school with, and there's like couples that like date when you're in high school, and then later on they come back to the reunion and they've like they're not together, but they've married other people in the class that they'd never even talked to at the time.
Yeah.
So I would imagine like them all marrying people they went to school with, but like not necessarily people that were like they were hanging around with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Like she could have married
Harry should have married Luna.
Yes.
yeah, right? Or like Hermione could have married what's his name who dated Ginny?
Dean
Thomas or something.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Or Seamus or something.
Seamus
They both were around the same height. I don't know if that makes sense. Doesn't make a difference.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would have had short, stocky kids who were like really smart but also really aggressive.
Yeah.
What do you
I'd
see
be down for
Ron
that.
marrying then?
Wouldn't it be funny if he married Lavender Brown?
Ah,
And he's like, let me tell you kids a funny story about how your mother stalked me.
Yeah.
She tried to give me a love potion. No, that was meant for
That was
Harry,
meant
wasn't
for,
it?
Yeah, that
Someone,
was
Romilda
Vane.
yeah. Okay.
Gave that to Harry.
I say she should have ended up with her own damn self or somebody else. I don't think she should have ended up with Harry or Ron.
No, I agree.
April?
What? Oh,
What were we saying?
yeah, I see her by herself rather than with Ron or Harry.
Yeah. She strong, independent woman. She didn't need no man.
No.
50% said Ron, 16 Harry, and 34 said her by herself.
Yes. Good.
What was the most satisfying moment? Hermione punching Malfoy in the face, Molly killing Bellatrix, Voldemort falling down dead, Umbridge getting chased by centaurs, or something else. I'll put it in the comments. I like the
Are we going books or movies?
It doesn't specify, so I guess go based on what you think was satisfying. I felt this is the problem. In the book, I had no problem hating Malfoy. In the movie, there was something about what's his name that just made me feel bad for him the whole time because he was so
Tom
like,
Felton?
yeah, like when she punched him in the face, it was like yes, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, he doesn't know he's an ass. His parents are evil. Look at his dad. Like
He didn't
His
stand
dad
a chance.
kind of bullies him.
yeah, like
he didn't stand a chance. Well, I know mine, which is none of the ones that you mentioned. I did like Umbridge being carried off. That was real nice.
Anything time she got her comeuppance.
Yeah, but she didn't get that really that often because she went. We never really said like what happened to her at the end. But my personal favorite was actually when Fred and George leave Hogwarts. Rooms.
Yeah.
Every time I read that part, I'm just like, yes, it's just so perfect.
You do it.
It's just so perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's actually mine.
I was gonna say that for the books, For the books, it'd be Friend George, the mischief and everything leading up to them leaving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the chaos in the hallways.
Yeah, and the professors like turning against Umbridge and using it like everything against her.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
But movies, definitely Molly killing Bellatrix.
Yeah.
Just not my daughter, you bitch.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like,
it was like hearing your mom swear for the first time in the play.
Oh, it's so good.
That son of a bitch cheated on me.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what they got. 27% said Hermione punching Malfoy. 42% said Molly killing Bellatrix. 4 said Voldemort. 25 said Umbridge, and 2% said something else.
Oh man.
All right. What's the worst change from the books to the movies? Hermione not solving the potion riddle in Sorcerer's Stone. Ron generally not being Ron. Ginny generally not being Ginny. Voldemort's fancy death. Did you put your name in the goblet of fire? Leaving out spew and changing Ron and Hermione's kiss. And something else, I'll put it in the comments.
Leaving out spew?
S-P-E-W.
They left out spew?
And changing Ron and Hermione's kiss. I don't remember that much.
Spew.
Yeah. Society
because I know in the movie.
welfare.
Oh yeah, they didn't. She says the line about how she doesn't like the.
They don't have that in the movies.
No, because she says a thing about how she doesn't approve of it, but that they don't ever touch on it again.
I think that's like a huge thing about her character though, because it shows like she's dedicated.
Yeah, she's way more woke than a lot of the other wizards.
She's way more woke, and I didn't know they didn't really have that. In
no,
the movies. That pisses me off.
I went because I didn't read the books until later, and so obviously I saw the movies when they came out. So when I went and they talked a lot more about the elves, I was like, oh, okay, this is fucked up.
Yeah,
because in the movies they don't make it seem as bad. I mean, you feel bad for Dobby.
Yeah,
but they don't really.
It's more Dobby.
Yeah, they don't really touch on the other elves and how they feel, and yeah, I would say that just because that's a huge chunk of, and it also colors your society, your view of the society, because a lot of them are like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with enslaving a creature, and then brainwashing it into thinking that it has to be a slave. That's messed up.
Yeah, it's usually it definitely shows like the wizards, they're usually like okay with it, and it's the outsiders, the muggles, the muggleborns or whatever. They're just like, really?
Did they learn? I wouldn't know. Did they learn about slavery in English schools by the time they were 11? Did they know? Like, no, guys, coming from an outside source, this is not right.
This isn't what happened.
Not good.
13% said the potion riddle. For the first one, 10% said Ron not being Ron. 19 said Ginny. 8 said Voldemort's fancy death. 24 said the Goblet of Fire. 22% said leaving out spew and Ron and Hermione's kiss, and 4% said something else. And the last one is, are the Harry Potter books the best series of novels ever written? Hell yes or nah?
The best series ever written?
I mean, I've never read every single book series, so I don't think I can
that's
answer
hard
that
to say.
truthfully.
I mean,
I thought it was gonna say hell, or it was gonna say yeah or hell yeah. Like
that's what I thought too. I mean,
I like them, but I mean, I've read a lot, so there's a lot of good book series.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of really strong. She definitely put a lot of time and energy into writing a really strong, like creating a really strong world. That being said, like anything, there's gonna be holes. It would be impossible for her to create a story that nothing could be picked apart.
Oh, yeah.
But I think the fact that it can be picked apart very little compared to what it could be, I think it speaks very strongly about how she constructed it.
I'd say yes.
Yeah. Well, surprisingly enough, 85% of the people that took this Harry Potter opinion poll said that it was the best book series.
Oh, wow, that is surprising, isn't it?
But they most of them were like, nah, I read better.
No.
Okay, any last thoughts on Harry Potter?
It's the best book
Do you want to play the phone call?
Or are we going to end on that? We should probably. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a phone call?
There's a phone call.
phone call.
Oh, shit.
Well, multiple phone calls.
Multiple phone calls.
We're ending it on a little skit that we did earlier.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Annie,
Thank you.
and spreading your opinions on Harry Potter.
I always can talk Harry Potter.
Right?
I'm sure
All
we'll
day,
catch
every day.
We'll catch shit
Fun-
from
so-
some people for not having them join us again.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of Harry Potter fans that we know.
Yeah, and they're always
Okay.
like, you did a Harry Potter episode, you asked me to be there.
Yeah.
I was like, we can't do a
Sorry.
panel discussion where there's 7 people all talking about Harry Potter.
Go on for hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But real quick story though. So when I first started working at Epic, well, before I officially worked there, they did a game night, right? And it was trivia based. And Annie wasn't able to come. And I probably met you once, but I didn't know you very well.
Yep.
And so they had a whole category of Harry Potter because they thought Annie was going to be there. Well, obviously, here and there, questions were being able to be answered.
Yeah.
There was a question which was, how many stairs
Yep.
in the staircase that led to the fat lady's portrait or something? It was something about the staircases.
How many flights of stairs?
Flights
I
of
think,
stairs in the
Hogwarts?
castle or something like that. And which they guess they say in the book. But,
They do. The first
and
book.
yeah, and so nobody knew it, and we're like, and Shane was like, we wrote that because Annie would know it, and we're like, Annie, there's no way she would know that. I don't know, no, not saying her specifically. But there's no way that someone would know that. And so so Savannah goes, hold on, and she texts her the question, and 5 minutes later she goes, I think it's 260, but I might be wrong. It was 250 or something.
I think it's 142.
It was, but you were within 5 flights.
Uh huh.
And we're like, how would she know that off the top of her head?
Uh huh. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which makes sense if you reread the book multiple times.
I would really be interested to know how many times I've read the books.
Yeah.
'Cause it's
Yeah.
You should start
obnoxious.
marking it out, check marks on the walls, like
Yes.
someone stuck in prison.
Yeah.
How many days left?
I have 5 complete sets of the books.
Oh, are you one of those
sets.
people that every time you see a new cover, you
Yup.
gotta buy them all?
Yup. Yup. Yes. Well, when you buy the British editions, they're much more fun because
Yeah.
it has the British lingo that they take
Yeah, and they
out.
spelled it. They put
Yes.
the U's in a lot
the
more
mum.
words.
Yeah. Favorite.
Favorites.
I read it with a
Colour.
British accent, which is way more fun.
Philosopher's
The
Stone.
loo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything with a loo is fun.
It's funny how they had to rewrite them in English, American.
It's
Just leave it as English.
Leave it as
It makes
English.
sense.
Happy Christmas.
Put a
that's
little
good
thing in the
that.
front that says slang terms you might not know.
Yeah.
You know.
It's fun. I like it.
All right, thank you so much, and we will end on this sketch.
Oh.
Sketch.
Oh.
Okay.
Phone calls.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Have fun storming the castle.
999. What's your emergency?
Yes, hello. I'm calling about my neighbours. I think something disturbing is going on over there.
And what, miss, do you think is happening?
Well, I don't know how to put this delicately. I believe they might be Satanists or something.
Did you say Satanist, ma'am?
Yes, Satanists. Or something. I'm not quite sure.
What, may I ask, has led you to believe that your neighbors might be Satanists?
Well, all sorts of funny things have been happening over there these past few weeks. I mean, prior to then, I'd never noticed anything that unusual about them. I mean, the mum's a bit uptight and the son's spoiled rotten, and that father of theirs keeps screaming at the nephew about one thing or another, but they keep to themselves mainly. It was just until a few weeks ago.
What happened a few weeks ago?
Well, I'm not quite sure. You see, one afternoon the family left for an outing to the zoo. I believe it was in honour of one of the children's birthdays. I can remember because it was only a few days after that incident with all the owls. Anyway, after that, it seemed to change.
And what changed exactly?
All of it. I mean, the general mood of the house, I suppose. it started to feel very loud and unruly. Crashing sounds in the middle of the night, random bright lights flashing, and, well, I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure I saw what looked like to be an 8-foot-tall bearded man flying on a tiny motorbike. Are you still there?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to remind you that calling 999 is reserved for serious and real matters.
But it is, I mean...
While I'm sure your neighbors might be a little disruptive at times, I encourage you to think logically about what they may or may not be doing in the privacy of their own home. I am sure everything will calm down soon.
I understand. However, I will be monitoring the situation and will not hesitate to call back at the first sign of something odd or unusual.
You do that, ma'am. Oh, and before I let you go, for all records, can you tell me what address you're calling from?
Number 5 Privet Drive in Surrey.
What's your emergency?
Hello. Yes, I called about my neighbours, about a year ago, the Dursleys.
Yes, ma'am, I recall. What's going on now?
Well, I just wanted to start it off by apologising for my short-temperedness last time. I was upset and nervous about what I thought was happening next door. You suggested that it would all calm down in due time, and, well, you were correct.
That's wonderful to hear. I'm glad everything is working
out.
That
was... until the beginning of the summer started. You see, that nephew of theirs has been at boarding school or something, and since he returned, that entire family looks like their souls have been sucked out.
Excuse me?
The Dursley family. They've gone from loud, obnoxious, self-aggrandizing wankers that they've always been, to quiet, meek, nervous Nellies.
I thought you said that they were okay people.
Well, I was trying to be polite, wasn't I? I mean, I've always hated them. The entire block hates them. I have never met any single soul who's gotten along with that Specky family. The fact that they finally shut up and keep their opinions to themselves is, well, a miracle of biblical proportions, frankly.
So what's the problem?
Oh, well, currently there's a flying car being driven by 3 ginger boys, and it's hovering just above the second-story window.
A
double-decker bus is being driven by a shrunken head. Okay, this time it's a balloon-shaped woman and she's bouncing about the garden and the whole family's chasing her, trying to grab her by the ankles. I just saw Mary Poppins turn into a cat. Two boys just ran straight across my front garden and they were being chased by, well, what I can only describe as a black hooded version of Slimer from the Ghostbusters cartoon series.
What's your emergency?
Hear me out.
Ma'am.
It's only that one of him walked into the house, but now 12 of them have walking out, and how do you explain that, huh?
Ma'am, if you keep calling, I'm going to have send out the authorities. What's your emergency?
Yes, I'm calling from number 6 Privet Drive. My neighbour at number 5 is having some sort of nervous breakdown.
What's she doing?
Well, currently she's running around the street screaming, "Wizards are real! Wizards are real!" She says that only she knows the truth.
Oh, very good, sir. We'll send response units out straight away. Thanks for listening to Podcrashed. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Podcrashed Podcast. You can also check out our website at www.podcrashed.wordpress.com. Email us at podcrashed@gmail.com. We promise to answer your questions. Theme song is by Creo. New episodes come out on Tuesdays. And as always, Donka bitches.